Welcome to the Digital DJ Tips podcast, brought to you 100% by the students of the Digital DJ Tips School with no adverts, sponsors or partnerships. It's great to be here for the final one of the year when we are going to be looking at 2024 from the point of view of people who DJ for fun or people who DJ professionally. We're going to look at things that have affected the DJ world culturally, but also technology, things like AI, and we're going to look at some of the changes that we think are going to push into 2025. It's a fun ride with lots of topics to cover. So without further ado, let's begin. So we're going to look at 5 or 6 big areas in DJing from the point of view of people who actually do it, DJs. Now that doesn't mean professional DJs, that means hobby DJs, that means people dabbling in this game of DJing, that means people who do it just for fun and maybe for a little bit of part-time income. And we have a very broad definition of DJing here at the Digital DJ Tips School, which involves, as you're about to hear, people who do it for all kinds of reasons and in all kinds of ways. And so I think that's where I would like to start. I'd like to start by talking about the fact that DJing, as we look back on 2024, has become broader than ever. The whole gamut of what we call DJing is just mind-boggling. So there's been a lot of talk, which I take with a huge pinch of salt because I've seen this come round again and again and again. There's been a lot of talk this year about clubs are dying and so there's nowhere for DJs to play. And that might be true in certain places and for certain kinds of DJing. Traditional clubs that are sponsored by breweries and that have sticky carpets and play mainstream music and that are unimaginative and etc, etc. Yes, maybe where you happen to be listening to this, that kind of club is struggling a little bit. But the thing is, the pendulum swings. And when things are struggling in some areas, they tend to be booming in others. And I think there's something going on at the moment in wider society as well as in DJing, where people are kind of fragmenting to find authenticity. And what I mean by that is that we're not all drinking from the same cup all the time. And so there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on the fringes, in bars and in lounges, in underground venues, people having private parties, people having podcasts that support the music they like, or they're live streaming, or they're putting on small events and making sure they then broadcast them to a wider audience, or they're simply online trying to find an audience for what it is they want to do, authentically what they want to do. And so specialism, whether it's specialism in radio DJing or in forward-looking events or in micro events or in just blogging about what you are into and then DJing to support that, all this kind of thing, we've noticed a big leap in this year. And so think about that, fragmentation and authenticity. DJs are now from 16 to, I would say 60, but older than that. And so you're not going to be into the same stuff at 16 as you're into at 60. And you're not going to be DJing to the same audience. And you might not be doing it in the same kind of venues. And you might not even be doing it physically in front of people. You might be doing it in real time, but over the internet. Or you might not even be interested in doing it in real time. You're making mixtapes that you're sharing on platforms that exist to do that legally and effectively nowadays. And so from that kind of DJing all the way down to the DJing way under the age of 16, where kids are using platforms like TikTok to use apps that didn't exist, and we're going to move on to this in a minute, apps that didn't exist 2 or 3 years ago to make very good and creative mashups that are just 20, 30 seconds long. Or people are discovering Twitch, which is now legal to DJ on for the first time ever. And this just for fun, hobby, DJing for social media as well as for live audiences, that's all part of DJing as well now. And that doesn't mean any of the other ways have died or are irrelevant. And it doesn't mean that you should feel threatened if you're into doing it another way. I think the whole point is that doing it authentically how you want to do it is becoming easier than ever. And it really is becoming a thing. And that's been really clear to us in 2024. And that actually moves us as we do our 2024 wrapped podcast here. That moves us on to the second thing I want to talk about, which is that software, DJ software, has moved or is moving to stay up with that and to stay up with the way that the DJ world is fragmenting and is becoming bigger and broader. So there's been a few things this year that I think are worthy of note. So a couple of years ago, I was at a music industry show in Amsterdam called ADE, the Amsterdam Dance Event. And I met up with the developer of a piece of software, and it hadn't been launched yet, and he was very excited to show it to me. We sat in the cafe of a venue, and he opened his laptop and talked me through it, called DJ Studio. And DJ Studio uses AI and uses non-real-time tools to help DJs make DJ mixes. You can put all your music into it, and it will look at that music, it will figure out the musical key, it will listen to what you want to do, how you want to mix it, and it will come up with transitions, and it will try and find song orders and things like this. And it'll put it all on a timeline for you, and then it'll play it for you, and you can listen to it, and you can change it, and you can tweak it. DJ Studio has been pretty successful, and I've been talking to the developers of this ever since, and we've gone backwards and forwards, and we've shared ideas and so on, sometimes disagreed about the direction it was going in, but the point is that they've proved that there is a real appetite for ways of creating great sounding DJ sets when maybe you're not a DJ and you haven't learned the skills of standing there in front of gear doing this stuff. And as with all good software, what's happened with this particular piece of software is that it's found audiences that even the developers didn't think it would find. So big name DJs who have to make mixes quickly for radio shows and things like that are finding they don't need to spend an hour and a half creating an hour and a half long mix, because they can use this software to basically create it instantly and then spend 10 minutes going through and checking and changing and adding their feel to it. So DJ Studio is one piece of software, and also another piece of software called DJay, has added features that have really helped people who don't quite have the technical background to understand some of the things you need to use automated tools. And one of those is beat gridding. Beat gridding is when you put a grid over the beats and bars of your music so that you can use things like beat aligned echoes and effects and delays and loops and sync and all that stuff. And if you don't understand anything I just said, well, guess what? DJ, as in DJay, this piece of software I'm talking about, has killed the need to do any of that, because they launched a new AI-powered feature, and we'll move on to AI later as well, a new AI-powered feature called Fluid Beat Grids, which is clever enough to just listen to any music that you add to their software, figure out where the beats are. It just gets it right every time, even if the BPM changes, the tempo changes in the song. So think about songs like Come On Eileen, right? Where it slows right down and speeds right up. No problem. It just gets it. And so all you need to do when you're using these songs is tell it which song you want the other song or songs you're DJing with to link to and to stay in time with, and it will just handle it. It's killed this whole need to do this stuff. Just like the sync button, for those people who do DJ who are listening to this, will know that that button killed the need for manual beat mixing. Well, this has now kind of made it so that that will always work. And so again, it's making DJing easier for people who don't understand this stuff. And honestly, if stuff can be automated, it probably wasn't that creative in the first place. And it's good that people are finding things that can help them do that. So this is great. Another piece of software that's innovated to help more people, this broad church of DJs, be more authentic and do what they want to do without worrying about these, frankly, quite boring details. Now, just before we move away from that company, the company that make that piece of software, DJay, are called Algorithm. And I was in their studios in Munich recently because they wanted to show me their VR DJ software. Now, this was a mind-blowing thing to see. They've taken a mainstream VR, AR, XR, whatever you want to call it, platform, the Meta goggles, the Meta Quest goggles, and they've put DJing right in it. And they're clever enough not to have recreated the big classic DJ gear that's really hard to use in the first place, never mind in VR when you haven't got real controls to touch. Instead, they've made it feel very compelling inside the VR experience and the AR experience. And they've allowed you to DJ in all kinds of places, from clubs and bars and lounges and beaches to, you know, in space and on the moon and things like this. And they've added streaming services so you can just quickly access music. You can pick up records from thin air and throw them onto record decks. It's really, really cool. And the one thing I said to them when I saw this was, you need to get other people into this software, because at the moment, if you put the goggles on, you're on your own. And we all know DJing is a communal thing. And they agree with me. So I think what we're going to see in 2025 is software, probably from the same company, where they start to allow other DJs to come in so you can DJ with someone else inside VR, maybe over the air, So you're DJing with someone else who's not with you, or invite your friends along to be your actual crowd. I think it's mind-boggling, and again, it's just going to make this whole concept, it's going to push the edges of what DJing is. And so I think that's really exciting as well. So new software is making DJing easier and more fun, and that's been more obvious than ever in 2024, and I think we're going to see more of that in 2025. So we're wrapping up our thoughts about 2024 as we march towards 2025 here in this final edition of our Inside Track podcast. And the next thing I want to move on to is a technical thing for DJs. So this is something that people who are serious about DJing, who are serious about their gear and their skills, like the students we have at Digital DJ Tips, who take our courses and who are doing this maybe semi-professionally, or at least they're learning it properly, if you like. So this is away from the casual side of DJing. And this is a feature that kind of started arriving a couple of years ago and is slowly coming of age. And if you are a DJ that takes this hobby seriously and practices a lot and is learning the skills in the way that we teach them anyway, you probably already know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about real-time stems. So for the uninitiated, stems, if you go into a recording studio, you imagine a recording studio, like kind of close your eyes and imagine one now. A recording studio has got that big desk with lots and lots of sliders on it, hasn't it? So each of those sliders controls a stem. A stem is a part of the final recording. So in a big recording studio, the drums might be on the first 6 channels, and then you have another half dozen channels for the bass and the guitars, and then you have a few vocal channels and synthesizer channels and so on. They're all stems. So if anyone's remixing a track, they will get the files and they'll get the musical information. So they've got all these stems, and then they can load them all into their software and remix it. So what's happened in DJ software is that stems has been made into a format that works for DJs, which effectively means DJs will be able to, in real time, just push a button and in their DJ software or on their DJ system, isolate, so therefore play on its own, or remove the vocals, the drums, and usually the bass line and the melody as well, although those two are sometimes combined, at least in one of the systems. So think about this. You can have an instant a cappella. You can have an instant instrumental. You can make instant dub mixes and so on. So what's happened quite predictably, but very excitingly in 2024 is 2 things. One, the quality has improved massively. So they sound really, really good. But secondly, the number of platforms that carry this has got bigger. And actually there's a third point, which is the stuff you can do with these things. As more platforms have folded it in and as more developers have got on board, the stuff you can do with these things has expanded as well. So this year, as well as it coming to pretty much all the platforms, including some of the standalone platforms, so the DJing systems that you don't have a laptop in the DJ booth with you, usually laptops and DJ software gets this kind of feature first. So it's starting to arrive on everything else now as well, which is exciting. But the developers are starting to, the more people that are doing this stuff, the more people are thinking about it, the more exciting it gets because the more ideas get fed into the pot. We're seeing things like buttons that will very quickly sample, say 4 beats or a couple of bars of music from one song, and allow you to drop it in over another one. So you could take the drums out of one song and put it over the other one, or a little vocal snippet and do the same thing, and so on. And we're seeing buttons added to DJ gear that let you do this stuff without having to really worry about it. So one of the biggest companies in this game, Alpha Theta, formerly Pioneer DJ, introduced a feature called Groove Circuit, which does just that. It lets you swap the drums. And Virtual DJ introduced a feature that lets you swap anything from one track to another. And another DJ system, the Flex 10, again from Alpha Theta or Pioneer DJ, allowed you to just take the vocals and put them through, say, some effects, some echo or whatever, but leave the rest of the track playing in the background. So you could suddenly decide to do clever stuff with just parts of a song. I mean, it really has become very exciting for professional DJs or for DJs who take their hobby seriously and want to DJ like the pros. It's become very exciting, the stuff you can do with this technology. And we've certainly seen that almost come of age in 2024. I'm very excited to see what happens with that as we move forward. So another thing, and see, here's a curious thing about DJing. DJing is in some ways a very forward-looking discipline. Right, DJing was very, very futuristic back in the 80s and 90s, when the sounds and the music and the way music was being presented to audiences was very, very new. You know, DJs would break records and DJs were using technology in ways that it wasn't being used outside of the DJ booth and so on. But in other ways, DJing is quite conservative, and especially nowadays, and you think with all this new technology that it would actually be a very inventive place, but it is sometimes, but in other ways it's a very conservative area. And what I mean by that is that there's certain things that seem to take about 10 years longer to catch on in DJing as everywhere else. We're going to talk about another one later on actually, but the first one here is the idea of cloud and streaming and having your music not physically with you, right? So everyone else in the world gave up having a physical music collection a long time ago. Now look, if you're one of those record collecting dads like I am, then you're probably waving your fist at me and shouting literally at the cloud right now because you're saying, I love my physical music. I've got a CD collection and a vinyl collection and I catalog it and all that stuff. But look, you know as well as I do, everyone else isn't like that. Your kids aren't like that. And so the point is that we're all streaming music through Spotify or Apple Music or whatever. And we've all got our whole lives in the cloud, right? I don't know about you, but I would be very, very twitchy if I didn't know that every photograph I've taken since 2010 wasn't safely backed up in the cloud somewhere and syncing to my devices so I could show people whenever I wanted. And, you know, should I break my phone, I don't lose all my pictures, etc., etc. You know where I'm coming from, right? If you work in a company, your documents are not only living on your computer, right? And it's probably a sackable offence if they are and you lose them. So look, the cloud is the way we work nowadays. But in DJing, it's taking a while to catch on. And you can understand that. People are very precious about their music. They never want to lose it and so on. I get all that, but it's catching up. So two things. One, streaming services are available in everything now. That's not news, really. But the second thing is DJ software has always worked on one laptop, if you're using laptops, or even if you're using professional gear in the DJ booth, you have a single master collection on one laptop, which you then export to a USB drive to play on that gear. It's always worked that way. And if you actually try to be a bit forward looking and use Dropbox or whatever to keep everything backed up, then it doesn't like it. It tends to have a hissy fit and you could break things. Well, that's all changing, thankfully. So leading the charge is Rekordbox software, which works with Pioneer and Alpha Theta gear, which has got apps for your phone now, and you can run the software on more than one computer, and you can have a master collection in the cloud. And you can even log in from their DJ gear in the Pro DJ booth to that master collection and just access your library, right? It's the way it's going to be going. In the end, having access to your cloud data in a DJ booth will feel just like having access to power, right? No power, no DJ set. It's going to be no access to the internet, no DJ set. Trust me on that, it is. We're not there yet, but other DJ systems are doing it too. Virtual DJ has always been a forward-looking software platform. They've got it now. Engine DJ has got it as well, which is the rival to the kind of pro gear that doesn't need a laptop with you when you're DJing. So look, it's coming to them all. This idea of having one collection on one computer to DJ from is rapidly disappearing in the rear view mirror. And the DJ world is catching up with the rest of the world on that one. And we've seen that develop this year for sure. And so it brings me on to another thing that DJing is a little bit behind on, and that is wireless, right? Your TV remote control doesn't need a cable. Your AirPods don't need a cable. Your keyboard that you're using on your computer doesn't need a cable, right? So why the hell are we still using cables for everything in DJing? Well, because two reasons. Reliability. It's another reason why the DJ world is quite conservative, because if you're stood in front of other people, you don't want stuff to go wrong. So reliability, and also basically because it's the way we've always done it, and it's a question that people aren't asking, so why answer it? But the thing is, I don't think anyone really wanted the headphone socket to be taken off their phone. I don't think anyone was asking for that, but we all use wireless headphones now, don't we? That's kind of something where the technology pushed what we thought we wanted. It kind of informed the way we were going. And that's the way it's going to go in DJing as well. So if you don't believe me, think about it a little while. There are already things in DJing that are wireless, and there have been for a long time. The most obvious one is wireless microphones. So no self-respecting wedding DJ doesn't have a reliable wireless microphone system, so that there can be a microphone at the top table at the wedding, and so that the parents of the bride or groom or whatever can be involved and can be part of the entertainment without going and standing behind the DJ booth with the scruffy geek playing records, right? So look, wireless is already around, but what's happened this year is that we've seen systems launch to offer wireless for speakers and headphones as well as microphones. So there's been 2 headphone systems launched in the last year or so that can be used for DJing without the need for a cable. Why would you not want to have a cable between your DJ gear and your ears, seeing you're stood right by the gear? Well, until you've tried it, you don't really realize. But then until we tried AirPods, we didn't really realize, right? It's cool. It's good to be able to wander around with our headphones on and not worry about the cable. Even a nice coiled cable that doesn't get under your feet can be more annoying than not having any cable at all. And so we've seen the first DJ gear launch that actually will pair with wireless headphones, and we'll do it without any latency, because that's the big thing. You can't just use Bluetooth. There's too much of a delay between the Bluetooth and the headphones for it to work for DJing. It's like strumming a guitar and hearing it half a second later. No guitarist would put up with that. No DJ is going to put up with having a DJ system with headphones or speakers that don't play what they just did on the gear instantly. So that's always been the problem. So there's DJ gear now, and in particular a single piece of DJ gear called the XDJ-AZ, which I've been working a lot with recently. And this has got a button on it which will immediately link to a pair of headphones that the manufacturer have made, the Alpha Theta headphones that go with it. And there's no wire. And honestly, once you've tried it, you really don't want that wire back. But also it's come to speakers. So the same company have got speaker technology. They call it Sonic Link. But there's another technology called SKAA, S-K-A-A, which works with speakers from a brand called Soundbox with a K, so Sound B-O-K-S. Soundbox speakers have kind of taken the world by storm because they're huge. They're wireless, in other words, they've got Bluetooth built in, but they've also got this SKAA system built in, which is low enough latency, i.e. not a big amount of delay, which means it will work for DJs. So if you get their brand of speakers and you get a little transmitter which plugs into the output of your DJ gear, no wires. And you can have these speakers anywhere within 50 meters and they will have perfect sound coming immediately from your DJ gear. And remember, we were talking about fragmentation, authenticity, about DJ moving to the fringes. There's a lot of DJs since lockdown who are DJing all over the place where you wouldn't normally expect to find DJs, and they're live streaming it, they're doing it for small numbers of people, and really having to set up with cables is not only probably dangerous, but annoying in those situations. Having a very quick wireless setup with small portable gear, everything powered by batteries, is awesome. And we've seen a lot of that this year. So as I say, we've seen speakers launched, and we've seen a subwoofer, the first ever subwoofer I've ever seen. That's the speaker that sits on the floor and makes your tummy rumble when the bass line hits. We've seen a subwoofer, completely wireless, launched. Again, that's on the system called SKAA, S-K-A-A. We've seen all this kind of tech, III as well. So that's AI. The company's called III. They've launched a system that can be used both on speakers and headphones. All of this technology is going to become more and more mainstream as these transmitters are kind of just fitted into DJ gear by standard. And the thing that's going to actually finally topple this and make it utterly mainstream is almost when the circle is complete, because Bluetooth itself, which is useless for this, Bluetooth doesn't work for this, and AirPlay doesn't work for this, and multi-room like Sonos doesn't work for this. It just can't, because there's too much delay in order to get it all routed properly, and it just doesn't work for DJing. But Bluetooth has reached a stage now where with certain chipsets, so Qualcomm, who are, any gamers will know Qualcomm chipsets, and Bluetooth 5.4 is actually low enough latency for DJing. It's proper early adopter stuff right now, but in 2024 that arrived, and mark my words, that is going to become the new standard sooner if not later, or rather later if not sooner, whichever way around. It's going to become the new standard, and at that point it's just going to be in everything. And it'll be just like I was talking about the fluid beat gridding earlier. You'll just forget that it was never like that, and so that will make it completely mainstream and normal. And I suspect at that point all DJ gear will be able to link to headphones and speakers that don't need any wires. So it's coming, folks, just like it's already arrived years ago for everyone else. Hey, DJing, what a weird world. It can be forward-looking, but futuristic, but it can be conservative at the same time. So the final thing, as we wrap up our wrap-up of 2024, that I wanted to mention, and the reason I've left it to the end and not led on it, is that this is bigger than DJing. And I hope with my hand on my heart, it doesn't become bigger than all of us. Of course, it's AI. So AI is changing everything. And I'm not going to even start talking about how, but it is. And so, of course, AI has arrived in DJing. And actually, it's in some of the features that I was just talking about. AI is powering the fluid beat gridding I was talking about. And AI is in the DJ.studio app that allows an algorithm to help you figure out good DJ mixes and so on. AI is working behind the scenes in your music streaming services to suggest music to listen to next. But AI is something which is coming to DJing, and it might come a little bit later than it's arrived in other areas of our lives, and it's still early adopter stuff in other areas of our lives. It's creeping in everywhere you look, by the way, and if you haven't noticed that, you're not looking, but it will arrive in DJing. And so as and when it does, we've been advising our students in the school, and I would thoroughly advise you as well, to just bear this in mind. AI is never going to replace you as a DJ, but a DJ who's figured out how to best use AI might. So your job, as we move into 2025, if you're interested in staying up with the world of DJing and getting the most from it as a hobby or even as a career, is to realize that and to start looking for ways of using AI. And don't think you have to come up with great ideas, and don't think you have to believe everything you're told, and don't think you have to believe everything it tells you. But don't ignore it. Ignore it at your peril. So if you are in any way thinking this is rubbish and this is never going to change the way I DJ, here's a suggestion. Let's imagine, and I'd like you to do this after you've listened to this podcast at some point, if you can. Let's imagine you've been asked to DJ a wedding, and you are not a wedding DJ, but it's someone you're close to and you'd like to do it for them. So you're not really sure what music to play, but you know the ages of the couple, and you know the ages of the couple's parents who are paying for it. And you know that the spread of people who are going to be there, and you know what cities they're coming from, especially if this imaginary wedding is in two different countries. Let's say that's an American person marrying a British person, right? And you're not from America and you're not from Britain. You're from somewhere else, and you don't even DJ weddings. Go to ChatGPT or your chosen AI and type in what I just said. Say, hey, I'm a techno DJ from Spain, but I've got to play a wedding for a couple who are UK and US. Their parents are aged 60 plus, they are 35, and they're going to have all their family there, from kind of 6-year-olds up to 80-year-old grandparents. I'm not sure what to play. Suggest me 100 songs that I might look at to get for this wedding. At that point, ask it to give you the songs in just artist-title, okay? And then click enter. You might have to prod it a couple of times. It might give you 20 songs and say, you know, I'm not going to give you any more. And then you say, you are going to give me some more. In the end, you'll get a list of 100 songs in artist-title, right? Cut and paste that into a streaming service and say, find these songs for me and build a playlist. Now, there's ways of doing that. This is a podcast, not a tutorial. If you're really interested in how to do this, literally having me talk you through it, come and have a look at our digital DJ lab product in Digital DJ Tips, where we teach this. But look, it's not so hard to figure out how to do it. Put it into your streaming service, whether you use Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, and let it build you a playlist. Now go listen to that playlist for the next week. And I promise you, by the end of that week, you'll have a far better idea of how you're going to handle that wedding. Now think about how you might have done that without AI. And now tell me that AI can't help you in your DJing. And I've just given you one example, and that is not the only one. Don't think, oh, I'm not a wedding DJ, I don't want to be one, and therefore it's not relevant to me. There's so many infinite ways that just in that one area, building playlists, AI can help you. So do not write it off. Write it off at your peril. It's not going to replace you, but if you care, a DJ that's figured out how to use it might just be nabbing your gigs if you don't. If you can use AI to make easier the things that you spend 80% of your time doing, so that what you used to spend the other 20% of your time doing can now be what you spend the majority of your time doing. In other words, the creative stuff, the stuff that no AI could do for you, the stuff that makes you, you, then what happens at the end of the day is that you are presenting a better DJ to the world and having more fun doing it. Just have a look. So we've just covered the Digital DJ Tips wrap up. We've talked about how we think fragmentation of the DJ world and authenticity are going to be the buzzwords for 2025 as DJing gets broader than ever. We've talked about how new and exciting software, apps like DJ Studio and VR apps, are making DJing more accessible and more fun. We've talked about how things like real-time stems separation and cloud are coming to DJing. Real-time stems is true innovation. Cloud, finally, right? Same with wireless, finally coming to DJing. But we've also talked about how AI, tentatively talked about how AI is going to be here with DJing, just like it's here in all other areas of our life. It's been a big year here at the Digital DJ Tips School as well. So if you're one of our students or a subscriber, you know about us. If you're not, we're a DJ school. We teach 40,000 DJs all over the world about this stuff. We've released the second edition of our book, Rock the Dance Floor, by popular demand. It's an Amazon bestseller. It was an instant Amazon bestseller the minute we released it the second time around. So that's been out this year. We've also made a brand new DJ course with the legendary DJ Jazzy Jeff called DJ Jazzy Jeff's Cutting and Scratching, which is coming out in the new year. So look out for that. We've literally got about 3 or 4 days worth of work left to do on building that, and then we'll be preparing it to get it out to the world, which is of course very, very exciting. Jeff's never shared any of this stuff with the world before, and it's the second course we've made with Jeff. So we made a DJ course first, and now we've made a scratching course. So as I say, highly exciting. This very podcast has been launched. It's the kind of second series of our podcast. The first one was called Tales from the Dance Floor, where I interviewed people, but this one is more just straight from my desk here at the Digital DJ Tips School, sharing stuff with you guys. So the second edition of the podcast launched this year. But I guess probably even more exciting for your point of view, if you want to learn DJing with us, is that we're going to be launching a whole new way to learn DJing in 2025. And you're not going to have to wait too long for it. If you're a Digital DJ Tips student, you'll hear about it pretty early in the year. But if you're not, even just you're a casual person who's thinking, I might want to learn DJing with these guys, certainly spring 2025, we will let you know all about it. A brand new way of learning DJing with us. Well, as they say, that's a wrap. Thank you very much for being one of our listeners or viewers in 2024. We'll be back in 2025 with another full season of Digital DJ Tips podcasts from the studios of our school. But meanwhile, if you do enjoy these podcasts, we do ask if you can give us a 5-star review or a rating on your platform. It really helps. And if you'd like to learn to DJ with us, the biggest DJ school in the world, then head to digitaldjtips.com and browse our courses in our learning platform. Have a great festive season, everyone. From me, Phil, here in the studio, get good, get out there and make the moments. Bye for now.